Paranormal Dimensions is fortnightly on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network.
Have you ever had the feeling that you knew what someone was going to say just before he said it? Or have you ever walked into a strange room and had the sensation that you'd been there before?
You are listening to Paranormal Dimensions on the Paranormal UK radio network. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to another show. This is number 146 of Paranormal Dimensions. Now, you may have heard an introduction there by Brian J. Kano. You have to excuse the background noise for that. That's because Brian was kind enough to record that short segment in amongst a load of people, as you can hear. Now, if you heard the last show I did with Bob Brown, you may have heard me mention that I was going on an event with the East Anglia Paranormal Investigations Group. Well, that took place, and this is where I met Brian J. Kano and Richard Felix, again, who's been on the show previously. It was a great weekend, and also the guest I've got on today, Vivien Powell, she was there. She's one of the people that runs the event, and we had a great time. We will be talking mainly about the event, but also we'll be covering a little bit more about Vivien and her spooky life. So I hope you'll enjoy the show, and here we go, Vivien Powell. Hello, Viv. Welcome to the show.
Hi, David. How are you?
Thanks
for having me.
No, it's great to have you on again. I think you was on maybe about a year or so ago, maybe a bit longer, before the world went crazy. And anyway, we've just spent a very hot weekend together. Oh, sorry, no, I don't mean it like that. I mean, we've been with
Don't, Jill.
Now, what I mean is we've been on a weekend with the East Anglia Paranormal Investigations Group. We went to Ashwell Prison, Nottingham Halls of Justice, or actually it's the Galleries of Justice, isn't it? I keep on saying the Halls of Justice. And also Derby Jail. I always used to think it was Derby Gaol, but it's not. But I mean, we'll start off with Ashwell Prison first of all. How did you find it?
Ashwell Prison itself, I mean, it's not what people think it is. It's a lower category prison. I think it was category C, and it was a youth detention centre as well. And it's people expect a really old Victorian built building, but it's
I did. When I actually heard Ashwell Prison, I thought it was one of these very old ones, you know. Until we sort of looked it up on the internet, and thought, it's not that old. But,
no. But it's actually quite big. Well, it was quite big. It had another wing, but that got burnt down in a prison riot, I believe.
Yeah.
But it was. I enjoyed it there, actually. You know, seeing the modern cells and getting to investigate them, and you know, there was one or two things that happened there, and I think that reflected in the investigation itself. So I love the place. I think it's a great place to go and visit. And I think Brian Kano, he enjoyed it. I'm pronouncing his name wrong. It's actually Kano.
Kano, yeah. Actually, we should mention that Brian J. Kano, or Kano, joined us for the whole weekend. And it was a fantastic weekend. All right, I'll tell you what, let's talk about Brian J. Kano. How did you actually find him? I found him to be... I was very surprised, actually, that how sort of hands-on and interesting he was.
Yeah, I mean, he took the investigation quite seriously. He showed us some awesome new techniques and some of his belief systems. And when I say belief systems, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about within paranormal. And he actually come up with the goods. I was very pleasantly surprised. He actually taught me how to view things from a different perspective. Which I'm going to take on board, and going forward I'm going to implement that, not just within paranormal but within everyday life. I've learned a lot from that man this weekend. I mean, he's a lovely guy, lovely to talk to, gets involved hands-on with everybody, answers all questions, and he's a very honest and sincere guy. And I look forward to seeing him again in the future. I really do.
Yeah, that's what I found. I thought he was quite straightforward, very scientific in his outlook on his research and investigation. There was no sort of BS there, was there? No saying about, trying to make out that things were happening when they weren't or anything like that. He warned us right from the start that things might not happen and, we might not see anything. And I've got to say, over the whole weekend, I didn't see an awful lot, but you might have seen more than I did. But or experienced an awful lot.
But we had an experience, didn't we? When myself with you and your good lady wife, Jill, when we was in a cell together and the door opened and closed on its own, and Jill came along. Well, she actually moved around, and she witnessed it do it the second time.
She's mentioned it a few times since. Unfortunately, I didn't actually witness that because of the angle I was standing at. I was sort of standing sideways onto it, but you and Jill were standing together, sort of facing it. So you would have seen the entire action.
Her reaction was priceless. It really was.
I felt a jump a little.
Her reaction was priceless, but it was just like all that afterwards. She said, "No way, no way!" And because I ran out and looked outside to see if there's anybody out there, and there was absolutely no one there. Everyone was in cells and doing their thing.
Well, I felt the weight of that door, and it was quite heavy, and it got to a point where it kind of got stuck as well. So you'd have had to push it very hard and then pull it again. Obviously, if it had been something like that. So very interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't actually see it myself, but judging by yourself, and I know you don't pretend things, and I know Jill doesn't, but your reaction together when you both saw it, then because there was somebody else in the cell as well, wasn't there? Or was it just you and Jill and me?
It's just the three of us when the door opened.
Because I know there was a few groups of us going around, weren't there?
Yeah, I know that Jill, well, bless her, she looked after my son and his partner, Ryan, their very first ghost hunt. So she was encouraging, go on, get in there, go on, it's what you come for. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Because they didn't trust their mum, because in case they think I was playing tricks on them. So they did trust Jill, and they liked Jill anyway. I think they warmed to her quite easily.
I think everyone likes Jill. There's nothing not to like, is there?
No.
I mean, the thing is, they were very interested. I know they were. One more than the other was very interested in your equipment, and what I mean is your electronic equipment. And it was carrying that sensor. What was that called? The sensor thing that was. That was in the halls of the Galleries of Justice, wasn't it? That one.
Yeah.
But how did he go away? I think he was a believer anyway. But did your son go away a bit more of a believer, or did he think the whole thing was nonsense?
My son Stephen is more on the fence. He has to see it with his own eyes to believe it. He's one of those, where he says, it was very interesting and he had a fantastic time. And I said to him, do you believe now? And he said, no, I'm sitting on the fence. He said, there were things that happened that I can't explain. He said, but until I see it like a ghost or a spirit standing there without my own two eyes, he said, I will stay on the fence for now. And I think that's quite sensible, really, because everybody wants to see, but they won't necessarily see. Whereas Ryan, he loves Most Haunted. Back in the day, he used to watch it, and he knew who Richard was, but he didn't know who Brian Cano was. He had no idea. I tried to explain to him who he was, where he come from, what he's, TV shows he's been in, what books he's written, all the 9 yards, but he didn't really understand. So he went with an open mind, because he's never ever, none of them have ever been on a ghost hunt. So they were expecting it to be really scary and people jumping out and girls screaming all the time, So I said, well, that's not what ghost hunting is. I said, that was most haunted day, somebody screaming and running away.
And that's only a very little bit of maybe 10 hours of a day, wasn't it? When they sort of put everything together.
Yeah, but he's a believer. He always has been. So, I said to him, well, come along on this ghost hunt. It will be your very first one. It's a bigger group. They're a nice group of people. And you've got bragging rights. Your very first ghost hunt with Brian J. Kano.
A couple of big names, yeah.
And Richard Felix. So he said, okay, then, so he was pleasantly surprised, and he said he loved everybody, all the people that were there, EAPI, Gary Sharon he loved, and your wife. He says he called her that pretty lady.
Oh, did he? Right. that pretty lady with that ugly bloke, yeah.
He couldn't remember names, you see. So he says, that pretty lady in Ashwell Prison, he says, she's brilliant, isn't she? I said, yeah. I said, they both are, But he was like that with everybody, and learning, the bits with the apps and everything that Brian was showing upstairs. I never got to see that because I was downstairs with people doing it the old way. So he said that he really found the whole thing completely interesting.
That's
the
great.
Whole thing.
I'm glad he went. I'm not disappointed anyway. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit about Ashwell Prison. Now, we've already said it was, or you have already said it was a reasonably modern prison. Why was it closed down so early? Do you know?
I do. I'm lucky that my old team, we were called Red Ant Paranormal and Supernatural. So it was RAPS for short, as a Mickey take. And because we were Red Ant Paranormal, we had an ant as the logo. Where everyone else have ghosts, we have an ant because it was, and I'm a big Adam Ant fan, and it was just.
I know what I always wondered that as well. What it was called that. So.
So it was a little bit of a Mickey take, and so I set this team up, and I had quite a few prison officers as part of my team, being that I'm close by to a category A prison. They just tend to anyway, I digress. One of the prison officers, Dickie, his name is, he likes to be called Dickie. He was a special constable, and when he came out of the police force, it was part of his journey up to prison officer. He actually worked for the governor of that prison, Ashwell Prison. And he said what happened was there was a riot that happened, and they took a couple of prisoners hostage. They set fire to the wing, and all that happened was because of the governor. It incited the riot. And Dickie says,
that sounds familiar.
Not going to mention his name, but the governor wasn't just hated by the prisoners. He was also hated by his colleagues, so his staff. So he said it was only a matter of time before something went off, and it did. And because the whole wing got burnt down, it ended up closing that particular prison. So it was no more.
Yeah, I just found it strange they closed the whole prison down. I mean, would it have been easier to just change the governor and carry on?
Well, I think it wasn't viable. The local government decided it wasn't viable. They could send all the prisoners elsewhere. There was room enough for everyone else, so they just said, we'll close it, because it wasn't viable to keep it open, because they'd have to rebuild, look at security measures, all the rest of it. And they just said, it's not worth it. We'll just close it down.
Right. So why is it seen as a haunted location?
According to Dickie, nobody died there. But in saying that, there was these youngsters that were incarcerated there. A couple of them OD'd. There was, you can imagine, there was drugs galore and contraband coming in and out. It was a low security prison. People were shivved, there were fights and arguments and all sorts going on. So maybe the remnants of that stayed. Maybe some of the prisoners that, I don't know, that went on to commit other crimes and ended up in other prisoners remember their time there at Ashwell, so they come back there to haunt. Who knows? I know that there is definitely a person that walks the halls of Ashwell prison, and I have no idea why. I know that a man that did airsoft, somebody that worked there or took the place on that did airsoft, he passed away recently during the time of COVID. We don't know if it's him that's walking those halls, or so we don't know who he is. Could be anyone.
Right. So it could have even been something that a history before the prison was there, even maybe.
It could have been, yeah. But is it? Sorry, I'm just swapping these around.
That's right.
I got them in the wrong way round. My earbuds, that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a fascinating place, and as you know, like, it's right in the middle of an industrial estate. So
yeah, well, Jill and I had trouble finding it as we usually do. Well, first of all, I'll tell you what, it's quite funny this was, because I actually put a postcode in, and the postcode took us 3 miles away from where that was, and we came to like a big building. We thought, oh, this must be it, and that's where the postcode took us. And we just happened to see a man walking out. I said, "Is this Ashwell Prison?" And he said, "Oh no, that was down the road. Yeah, about 3 miles away." And I thought, that's strange. Anyway, he gave us directions to it, and of course we eventually found it. It's obviously just outside of Ashwell, the town.
Yeah.
And obviously we found it, but then when we found like the industrial estate that you're talking about, we still couldn't. We went inside, we still couldn't find out where it was, and we were driving around for about 20 minutes. Of course, we arrived late as we usually do, and but luckily things don't start right on time anyway, so we were okay. But I just thought I'd throw that one in. I mean, did you, apart from the door opening, did you experience anything else there? I mean, I know with your sort of psychic abilities and things, which we'll talk a bit more about later in the show, did you sense anything extra there?
Not really. I mean, I didn't sort of go in there using psychic, but I don't know. Well, you know, David, I'm more of a person where I want to go and investigate it rather than try and tap in with because unless my guide is jumping out and telling me, go in this room, take 100 pictures or whatever just to get one thing, I'm not gonna sit there and say, oh, I'm getting this, I'm seeing that, I'm being shown this, because it's irrelevant. It's go in there, have a good time, enjoy yourself, have fun, do what you need to do. I'll only use my psychic abilities really when I'm doing private cases, when I'm actually helping people, because that's when it's most important. Because I find, David, that when on these events, people want a reading more than me actually doing my paranormal mediumship, if that makes sense. And I haven't got time to be standing there giving people full-blown readings. So there's too many of them. It's like, no. We'll go in there and we'll just have fun. It is what it is. We'll just have fun, do the ghost hunt, and laugh about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting location, I have to say. As I say, I didn't experience anything apart from the door opening and closing, which I missed anyway. But I just found it as an interesting location. It was quite I'll tell you what surprises me with these locations, how things are just deserted. You've got all the beds and the bunks and the benches and the desks, and it's all just left there and deserted. Wouldn't you think they'd find some sort of a use for them?
I wouldn't sleep in one of them. Oh no, I wouldn't sleep in them. But you know what? But you know what, David? There was another wing that we didn't go into that night. I have been in it before. There was another wing. I would have loved to have just disappeared. So just take 1 or 2 people with me, just disappear and go into that wing, and just see.
You should have given me a nudge and said, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah, but Gary and Brian had me working, so Brian expected me to stay down and do the swap over, and that's how we concentrated with it. But it's just a shame, but. Never mind. Yeah. Next time.
Next time. Okay. Well, give us a shout next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Right
Definitely.
now, no, we all sort of packed up about 2 o'clock in the morning, I believe it was. The next
yeah.
morning, we all met for lunch at Richard Felix's Derby Jowl,
We did.
which was at 1 o'clock. Which again, we couldn't find the front. We went round to the front. We should have gone round the back, and but once again, that was a fantastic. I've never been there before, and it was fantastic. Now, I suppose we ought to mention for our international listeners, if you've ever seen Most Haunted, Richard Felix, I think for probably about 10 years, was it? He worked on Most Haunted as the historian there.
Yeah.
On the show, and so just to put a face to the person, because I would have thought most people know what Most Haunted's all about.
Yeah.
And so he owns it, doesn't he, now, I believe?
He does own Derby Joe. Yeah, he's had it for, many, many, many years now. It's seen a few changes, but it's only a small part of it that he's actually got.
It's quite a big building, but it's a fantastic place. It's such an atmosphere in there. You can actually sense the evil that happened years ago, can't you, when you go in there? And when you look at all the scratches on the doors and things, and
the graffiti on the doors is just amazing. It is part of history because there's graffiti on doors from people that were actually hung for their crimes. So it's got that special part of history. It's not just a jail to go and have a look round. It's actually got the history in there.
Yeah,
it's kept.
And as I say, and people did die there. Many people did die there. Young, old, all sorts of people. I mean, we heard stories about children being thrown in with older people, and just any old mixture of people would be just thrown in these cells, these small, dark, dank cells. Yeah, I don't know how many people would have got in some of those cells, but they were awful.
Yeah, they were awful.
Yeah, I can just imagine. I mean, when we were having our lunch and our dinner, it was like a tunnel thing, wasn't it? And I think there was a nightclub there once, as Richard was telling us, and they knocked the wall. They was allowed to knock the wall down, which I thought was a disgrace, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that was like 3 cells made into one room, really.
That's right. That's right. And in that nightclub, somebody was stabbed in that day room.
Were they? Somebody
was stabbed and actually passed away.
Wow.
And I believe, I might have the date wrong, I think that was about 1984. I'm sure he said 84. Young lad got stabbed and died there.
Wow.
When the nightclub owners had it.
So we don't know if even he's haunting the place then.
Could be.
But did you sense anything there, or did anyone else sense anything there?
Well, I'll tell you now. You're going to laugh at me. I've been to Derby Jail quite a few times, and I've slept there overnight in the condemned man's cell. I didn't want to, and not because it was the condemned man's cell. It was because of the toilets opposite.
Right.
I've had a big fear of those toilets since day one. And Richard laughed at me, don't be silly, they're just toilets. And I said, no, Richard, like, if I use the toilets, the outer door has to be wide open. The inside toilet doors have to be wide open. I don't care if you see me going. I am not shutting those doors. And so every time I've gone to the toilet there, I've warned people, just stay in the day room. Don't come down this end, because if you see me, tough. I'm not shutting these doors. Of course, Richard being Richard, he's walked past with a couple of visitors. I think it was back in March. He walked past with the visitor and Dan. Walked past. They both looked to see me on the toilet.
Oh no!
And then they're sort of covering their eyes. They kept walking. I'd finished, washed my hands, come out. They said, "Do you know what, Vivien? We can never unsee that, can we?" And I said, "I did warn you." But the thing is about the toilets. I found out since the cleaner. He had a cleaner. Used to go in. She had the keys. Used to go in the morning, clean everything, go home. This particular day, the cleaner. Richard got a phone call from the cleaner to say, "I've resigned. I've locked up. I've posted the keys in the letterbox. I'm not coming back." And he said, "Why? She said, "I'm not coming back. Don't want to talk about I'm not coming back." So when he got to the jail, opened it, she just dropped the mop bucket, everything. It was just left in the middle of, and she just gone. He rang her back and said, look, I'm going to pay you. Just tell me what's happened, what's upset you. She saw a woman floating in the toilet.
Really?
She saw a woman floating in the toilet. And I said, see, Richard, see, I told you the toilets were a bad place. And he just laughs at me. He said, well, don't forget that was a cell, the toilets. And I said, well, my fear is, it's never happened. And touch wood, it won't happen to me. I don't care if it happens to somebody else. That's what they go for. The door will slam, and you won't be able to open the door, even though there's no rational reason for you not to open the door. You've unlocked it. The door should just open. But I know in my head, those doors are going to slam and I'm going to be stuck in there for a while. And I've asked Richard, have those doors slammed and shut so nobody could get out, in or out? And he said, not my knowledge, but I do know that the woman had been seen. And I said, yeah, I think it's her that does it. So yeah, I'm never going to go into that toilet and keep the door shut ever. I went to a Christmas party there once, and still with people milling around, I still kept the doors open. I don't care.
Oh, I'm going to ask you a question here. You know what ghosts are. You know there's nothing really to be scared of. So why were you scared?
I'm scared of because I've been shut in somewhere before. It happened at Redoubt Fort. I got we shut the door, did the investigation, then went to open the door, and the door was stuck fast. It was as though it was locked. And we spent 20 minutes trying to get out of this door. And even the biggest of men could not open the doors to get us out. And I was right on the verge, like my investigative friend, Neri, she'd taken her shoe off. We'd wrapped it in her jumper, and we were about to break a glass window to get out, to put our hand round and try and open the door. Just as she was going to knock the glass, the door just clicked and opened on its own. Wow. But we spent 20 minutes, and it's the most terrifying thing, just knowing that you're trapped. I mean, I'm claustrophobic anyway. So to know I'm going to be trapped there and not being able to get out, it just sends...
Oh, so that's the fear, really. It's not the fear of the unknown. It's not a fear of a human fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Now, I just sort of wondered that it's, being as because I mean, we sort of all talked about that, didn't we? About most ghosts are nothing really to be frightened of. They're us, basically. They're normal human beings.
Well, see, ghosts, energy, whatever you want to call it. I've been attacked. I've had things thrown at me quite maliciously, and if they'd hit me, I would have been hurt. I've been grabbed by the neck and lifted. I've had the strangulation marks around my throat. And when I was thrown against the wall, and my shoulder, elbow, my left-hand side, my hip, my knee, gone. For 3 months, I had to try and recuperate and recover from physical injuries, never mind about the mental side of it, that this actually happened to me. I was always blasé, spirits can't hurt you, but the living can. How wrong was I? They can hurt you, and physically as well. So that was just a chance thing that happened to me. Happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And then that did happen. I see people call out. It's up to them what they want to do. You can't tell people you can't do this or you can't do that. Do what you want, but just remember there are consequences, whether you mentally leave those scars on people around you. Because if you have someone that's saying, oh, this, that, and the other, and you're getting taken over, and, people around you are going to be mentally scarred from that. So you have, one, that responsibility. Second, you will get what you ask for. I firmly believe in that. And there was over the weekend, somebody got taken over. She got quite upset. She had to be taken outside. And she just kept saying, oh, no, this judge, I've got a vendetta, past life. He killed me, blah, blah. I just thought, that was past life. Have you not learned anything from it? but that's her journey. That's her thing. You know, I personally wouldn't do that. I know about my past lives. I wouldn't go back there, revisit them and seek revenge. Silly. But that's
I think
her.
I think I did catch a little bit of that because that was in the halls of more galleries of justice. So I keep calling it halls of justice for some reason. But yeah, we could talk a bit more about that. But Darby Jowl, I mean, Richard, he was selling a few CDs and DVDs and things and books, etc. I bought a few myself, and I think he did quite well. Yeah, I think he sold out, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I had a whinge at him, as you do. I said to him, make sure you've got books and DVDs. He said, yeah. I said, bring a big box.
That's what people want, isn't it? You know.
And I said, to bring a big box. He goes, yeah. Anyway, I got in there. He goes, I just brought a few. I said, well, are you going to sell out of them? Well, people are not interested, he said. I said, no, you'll sell them. And of course he did.
Yeah, the whole lot went.
Yeah, he is funny. I think he's just whatever's in the boot of his car at the time, you know. I said to him, always keep a box in the boot of your car.
Yeah, he's always full of stories. I know that. That was great while we were all going. Those messes of sandwiches and biscuits and cakes and God knows what else. That was another little thing. We were supposed to join you for a meal at 5:30 that evening, but we'd eaten so much there at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, I don't think I can fit any more in. I had to cancel our table. We had a couple of hours kit instead in the hotel.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's what I should have done. I should have done that.
On the evening, we moved on to the Galleries of Justice, which is now called, I believe, the Justice Museum.
It is, yeah.
And what an amazing place that is. That's in Nottingham. I was there back in 2015, I think it was. Was that the first time I met you? I think probably then. Might have been, mightn't it?
Was that at the convention, Paraforce?
Yeah, I think it was.
Might have been, yeah. Yeah, it's changed a little bit since then, hasn't it? It's had the whitewashed walls and...
Yeah, and also they'd moved some of the exhibits from the front because they had, like, from what I remember, they had stocks in the front and they had that cage hanging up in the hallway, didn't they? But that's all been moved.
Yeah.
You know, like a body cage thing, you know, for...
The gibbet, yeah.
The gibbet, that's right. That's what it's called. Yeah, I always forget the names of things. But yeah, it's still very interesting the way they've laid it out. They've actually made it more into a museum. I always thought there was 2 courtrooms there, but there's actually 3 that you can go into, isn't there?
There is 3. The third one is just like the small juvenile court, isn't it? That it's more like a room with tables and chairs in there. But we couldn't get access to that one because I think they're using it for training and schoolwork and things like that. But
right, was I not supposed to go in there then?
Well, if you did, good.
Anyway, no, don't tell anyone.
If a door's open, if a door's unlocked and open, go in it. That's what I thought.
You know, we're just sort of wandering around, and I think I did walk in there. But anyway, but downstairs you've got amazing. You can go down to the cells, and it's massive. And there's it goes into like even a cave area right down the bottom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which I believe, I suppose that was a cell as well at one time.
It was an oubliette. That's where they'd throw people in there and then forget about them. Yeah, I know when you walked in, there was a cage, like a cage thing underfoot. I don't know if you looked down, but that was part. That was part of the oubliette as well. There's more sort of deeper cave things under there, and there's another oubliette in the debtor cells, or we call them the dark cells. There's one in there as well, which you can't get access to, but it's quite a rotten place, like to throw all those people in there and just let them starve.
Yeah. I mean, it's been quite hot over in the UK over the last few months, and it was still cold and damp down there. And they've got special machines and things that takes all the dampness out. But you can imagine what it's like without that, what it must have been like back then, especially in the height of winter. You know, it's just horrible, you know. And I'll tell you what, also, I don't know if anyone else experienced this that was there. When in the evening, when I had all grit in my hair
from the ceiling, isn't it?
Yeah,
literally.
I'm sat in the chair. I've got all this grit in my hair. I'm thinking it's like, you know, if you go to the beach, you get all that sand and stuff in your hair. It was more grittier than that, but it was horrible. I had to wash my hair again. But
there is things that happen in those oubliettes. I must say that there is a presence in that bigger one that you was in to start with. That big one, there is a presence of a man that will show himself in there. It's been known. I've been going back to the galleries of justice for a long time. Right, in the last 10 years, I've been so many times. That there is a presence of a man. People have photographed him. Barry Fitzgerald, when he was there for the Paracon, he actually recorded. There was the sound of somebody unsheathing something. It sounded like metal being dragged.
Right, like a sword.
It sounded like a sword. Barry called it gin. It was quite frightening and upsetting. He got everybody out pretty quickly before anything kicked off in there. But it could have been anything, you know.
I remember. Actually, that was the first time I'd met Barry as well, because also Paul off of Ghost Hunters as well, wasn't it? What was his name? Paul Bradford. Bradford, yeah, Paul Bradford. Yeah, they're a great pair, those two. They're quite entertaining. But,
and then in the dark cells or the debtor cells, I remember a member of the public, because I have it open during the day as a museum, and go in there and do the tours and everything. And there was a lady with her 2 young children just having a tour around, and she was standing near the oubliette, which you can see through a grate, but she was looking into one of the exhibits that they'd set up in one of the cells, and it was roped off, so you couldn't go in it. And she was pushed quite forcibly, and it was only her and her two children either side. She was pushed quite forcibly, and she lost her balance and fell by unseen hands. And she sort of gathered her kids, ran upstairs, made a complaint, and left.
Wow.
It frightened her that much.
Yeah.
And that's during the day, let alone at night. I mean, at night you get stones and rocks thrown down there.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you what. That time when Malcolm Robinson and I were there, we were coming up those stone steps from down where the cells were, and Malcolm and I were walking side by side together. Right. Well, I think it was almost side by side. I don't know, but all of a sudden we heard a sharp crack behind us, and we sort of looked down and we thought, "What's that?" And nobody was behind us. And Malcolm went back down the steps, and it was quite dark. I mean, I think he got a torch out or something. And there was a stone laying on the steps at the bottom. And he picked it up, and it was quite warm. And we were calling, is there one down there? Did somebody throw anything? But we can only assume it was this stone. I know Malcolm kept it. I think he's got it on display at home now.
Bless him.
But he actually talks about it in his Paranormal Volume 3, Paranormal, whatever it's, anyway. But the thing was, now, normally, if you think about it, a stone, if you threw a stone on concrete or stone, you'd actually hear a bouncing noise, wouldn't you? Not just one crack.
Yeah.
That was the interesting thing about it. It was just a one crack, like a whip crack it was. Yeah. And, just found that interesting. But as I say, I'm only assuming that stone, and Malcolm assumes it was that made the noise. We don't really know because we didn't see it. But that was an interesting thing from that 2015.
I've witnessed, and not just a small stone. It must have been about, say, big, like quite a big chunk of rock, if you like. I see that with my own eyes come flying through the air and hit a wall that were actually trying to hit a particular person who brought with him some haunted items, let's say. He said that they had a binding spell, and he was going to undo the binding spell and let them roam and all this sort of thing. I mean, I don't believe in that. And I believe that the spirits there thought that he was taking the mickey, really, which is why the rocks started, not stones, rocks were starting to be thrown. I knew that phenomena happened anyway. But when a big one missed his head by inches, I think that frightened him enough to collect everyone together. We got them out. He was going to collect his haunted items, but me and him stayed to the end. We got the others out first for health and safety reasons. And then he gathered his things very quickly and ran out and left me there on my own. I thought, really? you're going to do that? You know, you're supposed to be the big man with all these haunted items and you're quite tough. And no, and he just ran. And I thought, yeah, you're scared.
Hmm. Well, tell us a bit more about the lady that had this experience. Was it the judge or something? She had from a past life. What you mentioned earlier.
She bless her. She said that she had regression done. It was a past life. The judge had sentenced her to death, and she died. He killed her. So now the judge is apparently haunting galleries of justice, and she wanted to go there and to confront him, and she said that she did. She said that she did, and she said that she wants to kill him.
Right.
And I mean, how do you kill a ghost?
No, that's right.
So,
yeah.
But she wants to kill him, and there was a bit of an argument, a backwards and forwards. I think she said she'd won this round. I don't know what that means. I mean, maybe I'm the one that's naive. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But maybe that's not for me to understand, you know. But I find that pretty weird.
Yeah. Oh, did you feel that she was genuine? That she, in the way she was feeling, or?
The way she was feeling might have been genuine enough. The past life thing might have been genuine enough. But I think that it was a bit more for, I don't know, whether it was entertainment. She could have done something privately, not so openly and publicly on show. I don't know. Was it an ego thing? Who knows?
I mean, I've noticed on a few of these things when I've been with the same people. I mean, they'll forgive me for saying this. It seems like the same people get touched on the shoulder or the jacket's pulled on each thing we go to, you know, or I've been to. Maybe they do pick on those same people. I don't know, but that's what it seems to me.
Well, David, a good friend of mine, has released a film that he made, and he'd worked with a scientist for 5-6 years to be able to prove scientifically if you're being touched. Now, to get rid of any contamination, he made that film with people being naked. Now, they cover modesty, so you're not going to see that. But the fact that he takes them to places where people notoriously are being touched or attacked, he sits them in the chair with this equipment working, and they physically prove it. They can physically prove someone being touched. But not only that, with the scratches or the bruising that happens, how they're reacting, you know, it's absolutely fantastic. This piece of equipment's called Spectre. Now, they're trying to adapt it to make it smaller and more portable, that everyday people can use it on investigations. But not everyday people are going to want to take all their clothes off, obviously. But no. you're gonna want to be able
probably
to.
Know a few that might, but yeah.
But he is working on it. I mean, so far, if you wanted to buy this thing, it's going to cost you about $6,000 plus. So they're trying to make it more compact and easier and more accessible for the paranormal investigator to use. But
so that's what they want, is an app what you put on your phone or your iPad or something.
No, it's all computer generated. There is equipment that you have to put down and link it all in. But you can now prove touched. A lot of so-called paranormal investigators are not going to like this. Those that get touched all the time. Somebody throws that down and says, right, let's see if you really get touched. Come on, sit there and do this.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't having a go at anybody, but I'm just saying that it just seems to happen. It is the same people that get touched, or somebody breathed in my ear, or whispered in my ear, or, you know, it's just my observation.
Yeah.
But, I'll tell you what, we were talking about apps. I mean, Brian J. Kano had some interesting apps on his iPad that he was, I think it was an iPad, his tablet that he was carrying around. I mean, what's your opinion of those apps?
I don't particularly like apps. Okay. But there is one app that I will use all day long. I don't know what apps Brian had. I never got to see that, or I have to ask him. But I really do endorse Echo Vox. The reason I endorse Echo Vox is my brother had been dead 5 years. And somebody I know was going to the cemetery, and I said, look for his grave, you know, do your Echo Vox or whatever on his grave. because he was a ghost hunter and he was a believer. And I said, he may come through and talk to you, he may not. She said, what I'll do is I'll record it and I'll send it to you, Viv. She sent me a 40-minute recording. In that 40-minute recording, there was one question she asks, and it says, Nick, can you tell me without a shadow of a doubt, is there life after death? And I heard in his voice, of course there is, silly.
Wow.
He's got a very distinct voice. I never said anything to her. I cut that clip, so it was just that bit, and I played it to my mother. I didn't tell her what it was. I just played it to her, and she went, and I watched her reaction, and she went, oh, that's my Nick.
Really?
He'd been dead 5 years, and that was done on his grave. So to hear his voice, a direct response to her question, I mean, I've had so much since, but that was done at my brother's grave, and she had permission from the family, you know. Yeah, I was amazed with that. And because of that, hearing his voice like that, that's the only app that I endorse, that I say.
Yeah, I have heard EchoVox going. It's quite good. The app that so I just looked it up. The app that Brian was using was Necrophonic.
Necrophonic.
Yeah, and that was very impressive what he was getting at. Well, I found it impressive. You know, I thought it was maybe impressive. It was very interesting, some of the stuff he was getting out, the questions it was coming out. And because what it does, it takes pieces of words and puts them together, basically, to a question. And I thought it was good. I'm going to download it anyway. I'm going to get it. It's good. I found it interesting.
I'll give it a go.
And the fact that Brian found it interesting, because I think he even said that not all apps are good. There's one or two that he says are good. I think he said that your EchoVox was also one of the ones that he recommends. But there are quite a few out there that are just not worth the time of day, are they?
No.
Right. I'll tell you what. Right, let's go into some of your interesting occurrences over your life. I know you've had some amazing occurrences over your life. It'd be interesting to hear you tell us about some of them.
I'll tell you about a recent one.
Right.
There is a live feed on the Striking Midnight Facebook page. You'd have to scroll to find it, though. I partnered up with Dan Winter, and we do a little thing for YouTube. We film for YouTube, and we go out and investigate. Just the two of us. We'll go out and investigate during the day, during the night. Doesn't matter when, any time of year, it doesn't matter. But this particular time, we decided to go to this particular church that is renowned because it's got a waxwork effigy of a woman who died in the early Victorian time. She pricked her finger, it got infected, and her last wishes were she wanted this effigy done, and she wanted her wig placed on it and one of her dresses. And it is in that, still stands in that church now. So we went there to do that, really. And while we were there, we found the history of the village. The lady, it was Lord and Lady Hare. And Lord Hare and Lady Hare lived in a big mansion house just outside of the village. He passed away 1994. Obviously, I don't know if he laid in state in the mansion house first, but his body was brought to the church. All the other family tombs are in the church. His isn't, and the Sarah Hare, hers isn't either. The wax effigy lady, they don't know where her grave is, but his body was interred outside. Beautiful headstone, as you can imagine. But I thought it was strange how he was outside. Anyway, after he was buried, shortly after he was buried, Lady Hare had the mansion house torn down. Grade 2 listed building. You can't just tear them down, but she did. I thought was strange. She then moved into a nice big house within the village. She owns every single property in that village. She owns the local pub. She owns the church. She owns all the houses apart from two. Two were sold off, but there's a clause now. If they decide to sell, Lady Hare gets first refusal, so she could buy them back into the estate. We did some research and found that they go right back to the Tudor court of King Henry VIII. There was a Lord Hare that served King Henry VIII. So I should imagine he was bestowed with all the lands and the titles and all the rest of it and what have you, and it got passed down. Lady Hare now is the last in her name. They didn't bear a son. So there will not be any Lord or Lady Hare after she dies. I think she's got a daughter. So her daughter will gain the estates, but she won't gain the titles. We stayed behind with the church. We had the tour, went up to the bell, top of the church warden, very, very lovely people. And we did a little bit of an investigation in the church. And I told the church warden, I said, oh, we're going to stay behind. I said, just to sit in the graveyard for a bit. If you see any flashing lights or anything, don't be alarmed, it's only us. He said, oh yeah, that's no problem. I know you're there anyway, you know. So we had permission. So we were sitting there quietly and discreetly, not running amok amongst the graves. We were sitting on a bench. And I see this thing in the corner of my eye, so close to me that I could have reached out and touched it. And it just zoomed past, and it was grey rags. Grey rags just went past. I said, Dan, I said, I've just seen something all raggedy go past me, all grey. He went, oh no, it's your eyes. This is Dan. Oh, it's your eyes. You know, it's most probably your imagination. I said, it was too close to me to be in my. He said, no, it could be the sun. Don't worry about it. It's just setting. Don't worry. And it happened a second time, but this time it went right across the front of me really quick, and I had to sort of do a double take. And he goes, oh no, it's just your imagination.
I could just imagine Dan saying that, yeah.
I'm saying, Dan, I'm telling you there is something here.
Yeah.
And he said, no, just don't worry about it. So anyway, I sat down. And then the light faded, and it did really quickly. And I saw four of them in the distance. There was two to the left, two to the right, two forward, two back. And where it had gotten dark, they had turned black. And they look like, the only way I can describe it is if you've watched Harry Potter, the Dementors in Harry Potter. So they look a bit like the Grim Reaper without the size, more raggedy.
I know what you mean, yeah.
More raggedy and wispy, but no face and no hands. It was just like that. Of course, I start then, and excuse my French, I started pooing myself a bit because there was four of them. Dan's giving it, because then he spotted one, and then he's trying to call it, can you come forward, bringing them closer to us. I said, Dan, leave them over there. Because there's four of them. I don't know what they are. I've never seen anything like that in my life, apart from on Harry Potter films and things. And he's saying, yeah, come closer. Can you come sit next to me? Can you touch me? I said, no, they can stay over there, you know. So then we start having our row. But it really did shake me up because, firstly, I didn't know what they were. Mm. Secondly, the way they looked. And I just felt so uncomfortable. It had there been one or two, a little bit different, because there was four of them and they were all very interested in what we were doing, who we were, why were we there. It just felt so uncomfortable. In the end, we did get up and leave. We've tried to research what they might be. I mean, people have very different theories. Some say guardians of the graveyard, others say wraiths. I do feel, I've got a very strong gut feeling that it's got something to do with the hall that was torn down. I don't know whether they were in there. They showed themselves to the family. It scared her that much now she's on her own that she had the hall torn down. I just think there is some connection with these beings or entities and that hall. I could be wrong.
But no other stories of people seeing the same type of thing.
We were the
you come
first.
across.
We were the first ever people to investigate it, ever. So we have been back since. I have, but the conditions weren't the same. I think I need. I'll put a light on in a minute. I think I need Dan there. I do think I need Dan there, and we need to do exactly what we did the day that we saw them. You know, I think we need to investigate it properly. We have had a guy, a lovely guy called Andy McGrath, said that he wouldn't mind coming with us and helping us with the research. Because
nudge, I wouldn't mind going either.
Okay, you're on. We'll take you. I don't know if that is connected. It might not be. But I just find the thing very interesting. We're hoping to get an interview with the lady herself. I don't know whether she will or not. I mean, she's in her 80s now. She's getting on a bit, so we can just see. But
it's quite fascinating. I mean, I've never heard that description before. Have you? But that of what those things that you saw, like pieces of rag flying, apart from the old normal ghost things in a sheet.
I tell you what it looked like to me. It looked like pieces of not quite cheesecloth, like a very heavy because it was see-through, and I can see the fibers inside of it. And it was grey and it was raggedy. It's like it was horrible. It's like, why would you wear that? I suppose monks. I don't know. They certainly weren't monks.
But you got a bad feeling off them anyway. You have bad vibes. By the sound of it.
But I think I gave myself those bad vibes because they didn't actually do anything apart from zip past me, and they moved so quickly, David. They did 50 yards in a split second.
Well, yeah, well, that's another puzzle for you then. So, but yeah, if you do ever go back there, I'll be interested to come with you.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Your abilities, if you want to call them that, do they go right back to your childhood?
They do, but I believe that everybody can do this.
Yeah, I do
everybody.
Too.
Or even the skeptics that say, "Oh no, I'm not, that way inclined." I believe everybody can do something or get something. That it's just that they choose not to. Which is fine as well. But I've run classes, or we call them circles. So I've run circles. I've done it from beginners that get nothing, then beginners that are a little bit sensitive, to intermediate, to trans mediumship circles. I believe that if anyone has the time or the inclination, they could do it. People, I wonder where these mediums say, "Oh, you're very gifted. You could do this. It's a gift." No, it's a gift that everyone can do. It's normal. It's natural, but they choose just not to follow down that pathway.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think we've all got it in us. It's just how far you want to push it and study it and bring it out, isn't it? I mean, you and I have had some funny experiences. Even with myself, I've had these inklings and whatever. I think I went on one of your courses actually once. I think that was it. That was at Gary's place, wasn't it?
It was,
Gary Bradfield's house, and that was some funny things coming out of that.
Yeah.
But, it is interesting. I've got to say, I wish I had the time really to. I wish I was younger, and I wish I'd sort of developed myself a little bit more than I sort of have, because I think maybe I might have been a lot deeper into the psychic field than I actually am now. But
you know what? It's never too late. Don't ever say you're ever too old. If you want to do it at any point, then just do it. You can start, because when your abilities kick in, you might be surprised that it actually starts working quicker than you anticipated. It's different for everyone. You might not see things, but you might hear things. Some people see things but don't hear things, or they just feel things. So it's different for everyone. You might get all three, and it might happen just like that.
I'll tell you what, the amount of times that I'll say something and Jill will look at me and say, "I was just thinking that," or the amount of times it seems like I pick things up. And the amount of times that I've thought of somebody thinking I haven't spoken to them for weeks or months even, I'll say I must give them a ring, and all of a sudden they'll phone up. You know, it's as if you're sort of you're expecting that call in your head sort of thing, and then you feel guilty because you haven't done the call first.
Yeah, that's it. I was like me today. It's like, oh, I've got to get that phone call over and done with, but I did it. Should I tell everyone what that phone call was?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I accepted a job today, and it's I've got to go and see him next week or the week after. I'm arranging a day to go down and sort a few things out. But I accepted a job as Richard Felix's manager today, so it's going official.
Wow.
So I'll be doing more. So there will be some events and things going on at Derby Jail. I know he does a big thing over Halloween. After that, there will be a red light evening going on at Derby Jail. It's going to be the first one ever there. And if he likes it, we might just take it on the road and combine it with his stone tape theory machine.
Wow.
So
how interesting is that? Now, when you say a red light, you don't mean that type of red light, do you?
I don't mean like prostitutes and things like that. So another way of describing it is shadowing with spirit. It's a physical.
We don't want to give
phenomenon.
people the wrong idea. That's all. That's all I'm thinking.
No, because in America, red light evenings, red light. It does mean that. So that, yeah. And if Richard thinks it will work, it will go on the road, and there'll be an up and coming tour next year with Richard doing that.
Otherwise, you'll have a lot of perverts turning up that night.
So I don't mind. No, I'm not joking. And again, he has a big Christmas party for all his fans and things at the jail as well. So there's lots coming in for Richard, and also next year we're going to get him on the road and do a few tours with looking at a bus tour as well. So
a magical mystery tour, you'll have to call it.
It will be.
That sounds really good. I'm really pleased for you, Bib, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I hope it all goes well for you. I'm sure it will, because I know what you're like. I know you'll get everyone involved, and I think Richard might need someone like you at the helm, sort of guiding everything.
He's getting on a bit now. He's not a young fella, but he's got a young mind, and he just wants to keep going. He says.
Yeah, I like Richard. He's a really nice bloke, actually. In fact, now you're his manager, you have to get. I've asked him already. He's going to come on the show again.
Yes,
he was on a couple of years ago. Oh, more than a couple of years ago now.
We'll get him on the show.
I'd like to get him back on. That's brilliant. Thank you.
That's not a problem. And also, I'd like to sort of mention Gary and Sharon Bradfield at the over the weekend. What a fantastic job that they did. They went above and beyond to get everybody there and looking after Brian and everything. It's just phenomenal. So.
You actually beat me to it. I was actually going to sort of finish up with that because Gary gave quite a heartrending talk or speech, I should say, at the finale of the event. I'll play a little bit of it now because he made a video of it today. Just have a quick listen to this.
Morning, everybody. All in all, it was a fantastic weekend. Now, for those that attended that weekend, you heard the sad news for everybody in the group. The Crime and Punishment Tour was the end of the road for the API as in events. We have got a few events that we had booked. We are going to honour those events, but once those events are out of the way, that is it. Paranormal is a journey, and I'm afraid me and Sharon, due to family commitments, have come to the end of that journey. I've got to say from the bottom of my heart, everybody that has been on any of our events, thank you very much, and I hope you have enjoyed your time with us. We class each and every one of you as our paranormal family, as I said at the Galleries of Justice. The API has been going for 15 years, and I'll be doing other things. You will eventually hear about them. I'll be talking to Viv about a certain show that's coming your way shortly. But for now, guys, thank you. And as I've always said, the paranormal is a journey. You get experiences along the way, you meet friends. Take those experiences, take those friends, no matter what they are, but be true to yourself and keep it real. This is Gary Bradfield signing out from EAPI. Love you.
I mean, how did you feel about that, Viv?
It's quite sad seeing him getting all teary-eyed. You know, he was saying goodbye to his team EAPI, but he's not going to stop. I mean, I for one said to him, come out with me, I'll still get you out in the paranormal. You can stop, you know, here at my house. That's not a problem. We'll get you involved. I run a like a Facebook page thing called Simply Spooky, and we do lives. I've said to him, like, you know, when we put out the call, like, we're looking for people to come and host a show. Gary was one of the first ones, and he said, not just yet though, let me get this. I knew what was going to happen, and I said, yeah, that's fine, in your own time. So he's got a spot. He's got his own show that's going to start coming up.
That's good.
And he's going to talk about all sorts of things, not just paranormal. There's gaming, Xbox, whatever. He's going to incorporate the lot. So I said to him, you can do what you want, you know. So that's coming up for him. He's also going to be working quite closely with me, doing other projects and other things as well. So he's looking more forward to that. Gary said that he wants to be back as an investigator, because he doesn't investigate, because it's all the showmanship for EAPI, and it's completely different.
Yeah. I think I read it as that Sharon's taking more of a backseat, probably.
She is.
And like Gary will be doing his own thing when he can fit it in, and you know, that's kind of what he said, isn't it? It's
yeah.
You know,
Because family has to come first.
Yeah,
you know, and we get that. We get that. Absolutely.
No, I completely understand. I mean, he come and spoke to myself, and you know, explained everything, and I was actually quite taken back. It's actually quite upsetting, really, but I know how deeply he feels about the paranormal world and also his family. So it must have been an awful thing to tear, you know, trying to tear between the two.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm sure he's not. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more from Gary anyway. And I do wish him all the luck in the world, same as you do. I know you do. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll be meeting again at some point, somewhere along the line. At some event. But,
I'll get him down your neck of the woods, David. We'll come down to Essex and do some stuff down there.
All come for dinner and tea, and we have a drink and everything. Yeah, I don't mind.
Definitely.
Anytime. You know the door's always open to you, Viv. I've said that many times, and you will make it one of these days, I'm sure.
You are going to have to get it sorted with the boss lady first.
No, she's all right. She's all right. Jill knows. I mean, she likes you as much as I do, so I don't think there's any problems there.
Oh, I love Jill. I'm not just saying it. I really do like Jill. She's like my kind of person.
Yeah.
She just doesn't hold back. It's black or it's white. There's no grey. It's
that's
just
right.
like that's how it is.
Oh, she soon tells me off, and I'll get things, you know.
And me. That's why we love her.
But no, everyone loves Jill. Everyone hates me, but everyone loves Jill. But
we don't hate you. I don't know about you and Malcolm Robinson together, though. It's a bit of a handful.
It was funny,
especially when alcohol's flowing. It doesn't quite mix.
Now, I'm not a drinker, but
no, but
we all know the stories about Malcolm getting on a train and he looks down at his feet and he's got one brown shoe and one black shoe on, which was quite funny.
You know, I'll never forget the story he told me. I'll just quickly tell you. It was at the end of a Paracon we did, and we had a heavy drinking session the night before. And I think it was Malcolm, me, and a guy called Andy Radley with the last three people standing. Anyway, they eventually go up to bed, and you know, you have to be up early, have your breakfast, and get people sort of going in their cabs to the train station, whatever. And stuck Malcolm in a cab. Take him to the trains. Take him to the train station. So he said, right, we said goodbye, got in the cab, got to the train station. And when I spoke to him afterwards, how did you get home? Got home all right. He said, Viv, he said, funny thing. He says, the first thing I remember, he says, I'm nearly home. I'm sitting on the train and I'm nearly home. He said, how did I get here? How did I get on the train? He said, how did I get from the hotel to the train station? I said, well, I put you in a cab. He said, but yeah, he said, I have to get the train to King's Cross or wherever it was, or Victoria, and then change trains. He said, well, how did that happen? How did I get on the right train? He got no recollection of getting on these trains. He said, Viv, he said, I was still pissed when I got on the train. I said, really? He said, I must have been. He said, because I don't remember it.
Well, so it's just like Malcolm. I don't know. He gets paralytic. I don't know how he manages it. People are always buying him pints, aren't they? I don't think he ever buys his own. being a Scotsman, no, I'm probably.
I think he was on whiskey. Was on
was
the
he?
hard whiskey that night? Yeah, and I think everyone. It's not just Malcolm. There was me. I was drunk. I was paralytic. I could barely climb the stairs to get to my room. That's how bad I was. But yeah, no, we did have a really good time.
Yeah.
But it's just those little tiny little memories like that. I mean, he's not a drunkard.
No.
He's not a drunkard.
Now, I'll tell you what, Malcolm, if you're listening to this, we all love you.
Oh, with him, do you know what? The man is so knowledgeable.
Yeah, he
knows so much, and he's somebody I will always look up to, because Malcolm, he never forgets who he is and where he comes from. He's just an ordinary bloke like you and I. He likes to enjoy himself. He's got his serious side, but he's got his other side of him as well that shines through, and that's what I love about Malcolm Robinson.
And anything paranormal, he never calls himself an expert, but I think he's probably the closest thing to an expert that we've got in the UK.
No, definitely. He's been down in a submarine on Loch Ness. He's done so much over his lifetime. I don't think people realise. I love that.
He always says that there's no such thing as an expert. And he's probably right in that. But as I say, I'll repeat it again. I think he's the closest thing to an expert that we've got. And
him and Steve Mera is the other one. Steve Mera, I have a lot of time for that guy as well. I think he's over the years, through the people that he's met and his own personal research and development. Steve Mera is another guy that I would class as an expert. He's another guy. If I wanted to know something, didn't understand something and wanted to know something, I know Steve Mera is a guy that I could go to and say, look, Steve, this and this, I'll send you this, tell me what you think. And he would, I like
Steve a lot too. Maybe it's even further than that. I love Steve as well. I think he goes deeper with some of these people, doesn't it? You love him in a manly sort of way. Not you, but and you've got to have great respect for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Mera, Malcolm Robinson, and Brian actually surprised me, because getting to meet the guy, the person, I've met him before, but there were so many people and so many people crowded him, it was just a sort of, get an autograph and then sort of go.
Yeah, you want to give him his own space, don't you?
Yeah, but this weekend we were up close and personal with him. We spoke, discussed, chewed the fat. He played jokes. I mean, he did a TikTok of my cat, which I absolutely adore and love. I think it was brilliant. He spoke about the TV programs. He spoke about paranormal in general, America versus England. Such a nice man. And even my Andy, you know what he's like. You've met my Andy. He don't like anything and anyone. He's just, But
he likes me, doesn't he?
He does like you. Yeah, you're all right. You and Jill are okay. But he said before I met Brian, I wasn't sure of him. He said, but I've actually met him, sat down. He said, he's a lovely bloke. He said, I've done a complete U-turn. And that's my Andy saying that. I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Because Andy sees these people on television. Oh, yeah, it's just. He said, no. He said, this guy knows his stuff. Yeah. So.
No, that's what I said right at the beginning. He came across to me as a really genuine chap, and I liked him a lot. And,
I did. And there's talk he might come back to the UK after he's in a couple of years. I think he's going to France next year. And he said to me, like, set it up, Viv, I'll come back.
That's great.
So he wants to come back.
I did ask him if I can get him on my show, but sometimes they'll say yes and all that. But I know he's one of these people that's probably always busy, and it's very difficult to pin him down. But if I can, I will try and get him on the show. He did say he would. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he couldn't, but because I know how busy some of these people are on
Well,
TV and everything.
David, you don't know until you ask.
No, that's his right. That's, I do chase people and I do ask them. So I've had some big names on here before, so you included.
I still think you need to get an Indian Elvis on, even though it's got nothing to do with the paranormal.
An Indian Elvis.
Yeah, find an Indian Elvis.
That'll be interesting. I do know. Well, I've seen one actually in a Chinese restaurant. No, there's an Indian restaurant. Beg your pardon. Sal, he does Elvis. But about a few years ago, I've seen him. But as I understand it, he's still doing the rounds in Essex, and so
Is he?
You never know.
Get him to sing on the show, sing on your show, and talk about Elvis and how much it meant to him. And I still think you should do it. Just a light entertainment one.
Did you get to go and see the movie? I know we're not. I know we're going off the paranormal stuff here, but did you go and see it? It is absolutely brilliant.
I didn't, but my mum did. And I said to my mum, "Did you like the movie?" And she said she didn't.
She didn't. And that's the first one I've heard to say that, because everyone I've spoken to, they'll say how brilliant. Jill and I actually went back to see it again.
I think it's because it wasn't Elvis.
Oh, I think
that's why. I think that's why.
Yeah, there was only one Elvis, of course, but it's big shoes to fill, isn't it? To take that point on. But I'll be very surprised if what was his name? I'll be very surprised if he doesn't get the Oscar for that. Very surprised, because anyway,
we love it. We love Elvis.
We do. We've only got to look behind me to see all these posters and things and all that stuff.
I've only got one, but you can't see. I can see.
One. Yeah.
I got. It's not Elvis. It's Adamant. He's my.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. I think Adamant was what was it 80s, 81, 82 he was big. Is his big years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't he have some mental problems as well later on?
He suffers with. He's bipolar. He's always been bipolar, and when he's not working and doing stuff like reinventing himself, bipolar then slips. And I read somewhere that he didn't take his medication and he just went off the rails. And yeah.
I know he had some problems a few years back, but he was doing concerts recently. Did you go and see it?
I did. I got a T-shirt and I met the support band lady, Laurie Black. It was a really, really good. I was 4 rows from the front.
Oh, lovely.
Just yeah.
See, that's it. You went up on me. I never did get to see Elvis live, which obviously a lot of us didn't. But,
I saw Adamant in the 80s, when he used to put the stripe across his nose, and I saw him. I got photographs of that when I went, and if I can get to his gigs at least once every few years, I will always go, because I just love the man. I mean, he's 67 years old.
I was going to say, how old is he now? So 67. Yeah, he's got to be something like that. Yeah.
Still gigging, still
amazing.
Touring, and so.
Once you still, so's Paul McCartney, and he's what, 83, 82 now, 81 maybe, something like that. Maybe anyway.
There's hope for us all yet, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, the good thing is that we'll still be doing it in 10 years, hopefully. So that's the good thing for me. Anyway, Viv, I guess we ought to call it an evening.
Okay.
Now, when the show goes out, I'll put links to your radio show. Do you call it a radio show or do you call it a podcast?
I'll call it whatever.
Yeah, I'll put all the links out for it anyway. And what was this Striking Midnight as well? Is that another show?
It's Striking Midnight Paranormal, and it's on YouTube.
Right. Okay. Well, I need to check that out as well. So,
Striking Midnight Paranormal. We're on Facebook, as in Striking Midnight, and Striking Midnight Paranormal on YouTube. But you'll find us. We've done Borley Rectory, not Rectory, Borley. And it's funny because when we were there, we didn't hear it. We sat down, we did our filming and things. Dan pieced everything together and put it out. I sat and watched it. I said, Dan, that door's rattling. He went, what? I said, watch it from this to this. The door is rattling. But you see us when we're investigating, we're oblivious. We don't hear it. It's only when you see it on the film, the door is rattling and you can hear it rattling. That's from inside the church.
That's a weird one. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I love
anyway,
it, I love
I'll
it.
put all the links I can on when I can get back on Facebook. I'll keep getting banned for different things, but I've got about another 3 days to go, so I've got to
You're
try and
gonna have
behave
to,
myself.
you're gonna have to set up some other profiles.
I've got two, and they're linking them now. I've gone banned on both of them.
Can't you just go by rather than David Young, put Dave and then your initial,
Yeah.
your middle name, Young.
Trouble is, you need all these different email addresses as well. Then, and then they start asking you for phone numbers, and I've only got one phone. Oh, can't be bothered. And besides that, I mean, what is the point? Facebook is crap now.
They're
You know.
banning you for silly little things.
Yeah.
Like there was
things they don't want you to say.
Well, the thing is, we were talking about serial killers and things, and somebody was in our chat saying, yeah, disgusting, he should have been executed, execution wasn't good enough, and they tried to ban her for that, saying it went against their standards. I said, did you appeal it every time?
Where's the free speech gone? I mean, most of mine was when I mentioned the word COVID or something like that, or I get 30-day ban.
When we were on Mark Manley's show, we're not allowed to mention government, because if you say government, they ban you. Or they took away the ability for people to put in chat. So we don't say government, we say bobberment.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because if it's one of those things where we can't say government, we say bobberment. We just change the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were doing over the jabs and stuff as well, weren't they? For calling it something else, the jippy jab or something.
Yeah.
Silly, anyway, that is all silly. It's stupid. I mean, it's just doing away with free speech altogether, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, so much for the free world.
I know.
Anyway, Viv, until next time, thanks for coming on. It's been fantastic. Good luck in your new position as Richard Felix's manager.
Well, we'll see what I can manage first, because I've never done it before. I can barely just do myself, let alone Richard.
Well, keep in touch. If there's anything I can ever help you with, you know where I am. Give us a shout, and you're always welcome, as I've said, in this neck of the woods. So all I'll say is take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon next time.
Yeah, stay in touch, and just tell Jill it was brilliant over the weekend, and thanks for sort of keeping an eye on my boys and stuff.
She had a great time, yeah.
My boys loved her. They just said she was you can tell her they called her the pretty lady.
The pretty lady, yeah. Okay.
Oh, bless
I'll tell her that. Oh,
yeah, no, they really enjoyed sort of investigating and stuff with her and yourself. So,
maybe we'll do it again sometime. You never know.
Yeah, I'll get them out. We'll go and do something around the Canvey area, because there's loads of stuff around there.
Is there? I mean, I'm sure there must be some places that are quite interesting. I've got to say, there's a really old church just down the road. Actually, we took the dogs down there because it's like in walking distance. Oh, actually, no, I drove around there, but we could walk to it if we wanted to. But it's a really old church. It's lovely. I'll have to take you there, because I think you'd find it very interesting.
And there's that, the bridge that takes you across to Canvey, the road bridge.
Yeah.
There's
the old original one, you mean?
The old original one. There's a ghost car that's seen that goes across there.
Yeah, well, I've heard about that. Yeah. Oh, that's the one that comes down from Benfleet.
Oh, is it? I don't know.
That was once the only route onto Canvey Island, but of course there's a big I call it a freeway, but it's a big highway that comes round onto it now.
Yeah.
They called it the link or something. I'm not sure. Canvey Link or something. Canvey Way.
And then there's the soldiers seen on horseback on the marshes there.
Is there?
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I have to keep my eyes out for them.
You have to do a little
investigation. I have heard from other people. There's quite a lot of UFO seen out at sea as well over here.
Yeah.
So there you go. So
well, I want to go and do Rendlesham Forest. They say you can get on the base, like that it's empty now.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. There's a hole in the fence. Well, I would like to go in, just have a little nosy.
I'll take you in through the gate. It's better to go through the fence.
Because a hole in the fence. I don't want to get told off. But I tell you what,
you've got the Cold War Museum there, which was all part of where a lot of the where the soldiers, the troops were actually in the thing. It's all been turned into a museum, a lot of it.
Well, I went over to Orford Ness where they tested the bombs and stuff. And the guy there said to me that because I said, oh, do you let groups come in here at night? And he said, well, there's a photography club that comes and does an all-nighter and they stay in there where the bunk beds are. I think photography group. Yeah, I could call myself that part of the photography. I just go in and do a paranormal investigation.
Well, you are taking photos of things, aren't you? So
I'm thinking of going. I went. It won't be for a few years though, I think, but I'm thinking of going. A small group of people, because I think they've only got 10 bunk beds. I mean, I don't mind sleeping in a share, but I wouldn't want to go sleep all night. I just wouldn't want to sleep. I just want to be there, take it all in, sleep when you get home.
Well, you can imagine them all sitting there snoring, can't you?
Dan made me laugh because I shared a room with Dan and he talks in his sleep. But it is so funny. He was snoring and all of a sudden he went, oh yeah, like that, and then he woke himself up. What? And then he went back to sleep and he said, see that one there? She's a tramp, that one. I went, okay. And then he was going, oh, mushrooms. Don't forget the mushrooms. And I'm thinking, what? And then a bit later on he said, don't forget. He said, that one there, yeah, the creature shop. He said, and he was mumbling, and then he said, yeah, go into the creature shop. And I thought, creature shop, what are you on? And then, like he was so surprised, he went, it's electric. Like, what? In the end, I forced myself to go to sleep because I thought I could be sitting up all night listening to him talk. And I think I got an hour's sleep. Did
you tell him you heard all that?
Well, I said
because he might listen to this, he's going to hear it all.
But then I said to him, I'm going to record. He said, yeah, record me in case I talk again. And I record him. I think it was 3 hours I got of a recording. I've got to listen back to see if he does actually talk. Because if he talks, I've got to cut it and then send it to him so he can hear it. But yeah, I recorded him for 3 hours. I've got a 3-hour recording to listen to. But Dan does this, like, apparently his wife caught him. It was as though he was a game show host with a northern accent. And she was, welcome. He was welcoming people on this game show in this northern accent. And apparently Hazel said it was highly amusing,
It sounds it. Perhaps that's what he was in a previous life, eh?
Game show host.
Anyway, I think we better leave it there before we get into more trouble. Right. Anyway, okay. I'll speak to you again soon. Take care of yourself. Yeah. And
take care of yourself. And love to Jill.
Yeah, thank you. And love to everybody else. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, see you.
Bye.
Cheers, Viv. Shut bye.
How'd you get out of here? Oh, leave. That's it. I'm going.
Cheers. Ta-da.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And that was Vivien Powell. Thank you, Viv. We had a few laughs along the way there. Right, okay. As always, if you'd like to get in touch with me at any point, my email address is davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. That's davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. My next guest on my next show, which will be on the 29th of August, is author and photographic analyst Jason Gleaves. So we should look forward to that one. Should be good. So until then, take care, everyone, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye-bye. Dimensions is fortnightly on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.